My name is Phil Reed, and I want to make this video to share with you my creative process of both the last 30, 40 years. Primarily all in painting, but I wanted to share part of my concept about the development and give you three samples of the process that I go through. Now, the concept of body, mind, soul is not new. We also refer to it as consciousness, subconscious, and unconscious. Promoted primarily through the psychology of Carl Jung, who also dealt with the symbolic quest, which is also a big part of my work over the last 40 years. So I want to talk about the three components. The first one is the body. The body is basically a physical element, but it has no emotion, it has no personality, it has no character. It's just basically for the five senses of the earthly domain that we have here. That is the hearing, the seeing, the taste, the smell, and the touch. That was what we often refer to as the five senses of our existence on the earth. But the other part, that is also called the conscious state. The subconscious state is the barrier between the consciousness and the unconscious state. Unconscious by far is the largest portion of who we are as a human being. Contains all of our emotions, all of our ancestral past, all of our characteristics, personality. But the subconscious is a barrier between the conscious and the subconscious. This barrier is very important because without it, we would probably not be able to cope with the amount of information that is contained within our unconscious self. So the subconscious acts as a barrier for thinking, for evaluating, for assessing. So we need that part of us to understand the images and the symbols and the information that contained in our unconscious and in our imagination. We can make sense of what we see physically in the conscious state, and then through the creative process of the imagination, then we can collect it together, the design portion, the thinking. So that's what I refer to as the subconscious. The unconscious is by far, in my opinion, the greatest portion of our existence. It has no limit. There is no barriers. There are no borders. The imagination, our unconscious, is infinite in space. I know that's a challenging concept to think about, but if you look up the night sky and you see stars and we see the blackness and we see planets, it's difficult for us to understand that there is a limit to what we see. The bright little dots, those are huge stars, the planets. So to me, the unconscious is the same state. The unconscious contains all of our ancestral past. It contains all the unconscious, collective unconscious of all humanity. It contains in our DNA, as we know, the DNA traces us back to many ancestral elements in our work. For me, I had my DNA tested, and it indicated that my ancestral past was Celtic. So that was a very big moment for me, because then I started to understand why I was acting in certain ways when I saw symbols, or if I saw some archaeology, or if I see stories about Celtic culture and history and relationship with the ongoing humanity. It started to make more sense to me, so that's what brought it together. So that's what I want to talk about here, and I have three paintings which will show you what I perceive to be the conscious, subconscious, and unconscious state. So these are not definitive of all my work, of course, and I chose them just by happen chance, but because I also believe that they do show you some of the concepts and information that I'm talking about. So to me, the earth is the conscious state, is an earthly state. It is where we see mountains, where we see rivers, the sky, the ocean, touch the grass, smell the flowers, taste the food, listen to the birds. This is an inspiring, heart of who we are as artists, no doubt about it. And in fact, when I started, my great love was landscape painting, birds and flowers. And I don't want to segment these into say, oh, this was 10 years, this was 15 years, this was 5 years. I just want to say this is a process that was happening throughout my journey, and just give you small examples of how they represent this. So the one here on my left is bamboo forest with a bird. Purely a conscious state. I do love painting physical nature. I do enjoy nature. But for me, there was something missing. And I needed to pursue I needed to pursue beyond the conscious self. So there was something calling to me. So, what was behind the bamboo? What is the meaning of bamboo? What is behind the bird? What does that represent? And it started to create stories and narratives for me that I could not explain on a conscious level. So then I started to pursue when I journeyed into my second phase, was to actually mix the conscious state with a subconscious element of symbols, signs that represent the greater sense of my humanity and representation in the world. And so what I have done is, in this painting here, so as you can see, there's a physical nature, there's a human nature, there's an element that connects the humanity with the painting itself. It's much more abstract than the realism or the perceived realism of what we see around us. But you can also see many symbols in here, symbols from India, from China, from the West, and they all have their own story. And I have them floating in a cloud of color fields, an abstract representation. So I didn't want it to be an earthly domain. So there is no bottom or top. There is no perceived barrier or borders, except bordered by, of course, by the compositional canvas that I have here. There's elements here of grass, of earth, of straw. So I collaged that into the work. So it has the connection to the physical nature of the earth, but itself ventures into a more spiritual nature beyond our physical selves. So this was a big part of my second path in the journey. The third path of the journey is this over here. Now, this is completely abstract. It has no human representation except from the symbols. So there is no up, there's no down, there is an endless depth in the work. And so this here is completely abstract. To me, this represents a nature, the representation of my unconscious self. This is how I really see. This is what makes me who I am. So this now is the stage I am at, and I enjoy these two stages here very much because of bringing in the human element in here. And also I enjoy this very much because I can pursue a pure abstract freedom of expression, which goes beyond the physical nature of the work itself. So thank you for listening to my discussion and my introduction of my work, and I hope in the future we have an opportunity to meet and to discuss it further. Take care. Thank you.